So, did you ever have a particularly challenging moment in FPV? I know a lot of people have, whether they lose a quad, it blows up in their face, or burns part of their garage down. Everyone feels like quitting. A lot of people do quit, but what was that moment that really brought you to the edge? And how did you come
Yeah.
back from it and overcome it?
Well, for me, the challenging moment, so like, because this is my job, I'm less concerned about like losing a quad than most people because I have a lot of quads and I always have new ones coming in to review. And I don't want to be too glib about it. Like I do care, like especially if it's a quad that I built and I built it just right, then I really don't want to crash it and mess it up. Like some I like more than others. But like for me, it's not like, oh, I put that quad in a tree or I put that quad in the lake. Because at the end of the day, as long as I'm making content and getting content out of it, almost anything is fair game. But for me, what really makes me struggle and get frustrated and like not really want to quit, but have that feeling is if I'm trying to make a video and like stuff's just fucking up again and again and again, and I'm not getting the content that I need, and like, you go outside and you forgot your SD card, and then you go to take off and your props aren't on, and then like the quad is broken, so you can't review it, and just repeatedly, or like if you lose footage, if I do a
Mm.
recording and I'm recording for 2 hours and then it turns out like the mic wasn't on or something,
Mm.
like that stuff is
Mm.
really frustrating. Yeah.
So like you never wanted to like or thought about quitting FPV, like you're done. Like
Even like
No,
early on
but
before
like
you had the channel.
no, early on I was so like just hungry and loved it. At no Early on I didn't think about quitting at all. It was just every bit of it was fun and exciting and challenging, and it's after you get a little more bored with it as time
damn.
goes on, and then you're not thinking about quitting from frustration, you're just thinking about, I never think about quitting, I'm always thinking, man, why don't I fly more? Oh, I wish I flew more. So like I'm kind of doing like, they talk about quiet quitting, where you don't quit your job, you just slowly stop doing it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
like
the thing.
you're so busy making videos, answering emails, planning, stuff for the channel. And it's the creator's dilemma, right? Once you make it your job, then the idea that you can just go out and do it for fun is you have to balance that, and it's a struggle.
So do you still do it just for fun? Like sometimes like without.
Yeah. Some, but mostly I do it it's hard to fly just for fun and not be like, well, I could record some content. I actually didn't post a video from Rampage. I got
Mm.
back from Rampage. I had a bunch of footage. I did a lot of flying at Rampage with the idea that I was going to make a vlog. I came back from Rampage and I was just like, I just don't feel like editing this. I'm just gonna, and I'm sure that the Rotor Riot guys really would have rather I made a video about it. But I just came back and I was like, I'm just gonna let this one be for me.
Yeah,
That's good.
I think that's real special. And I mean, I'm not a content producer, but I used to post videos a little bit, and I've really found that Yvonne and I did this long range trip not too long ago, and for 2 days we didn't even hit record
Right.
because like we were just out there for
Losing
us, and
quads out there, losing quads.
yeah. Well, that happened too. Like maybe it would have been better to hit record, but I think the whole point of it was like we weren't out there to make content. We were out there just to enjoy flying, and
Yeah.
that was very cool. And you know, and again, it's not my job. I'm still a little bit like 1 foot on both sides of it, if you were.
Mhm.
But it's I do find it really nice to get out there and just fly, just to fly.
Yeah.
And but I get too, if it's your job, like it's hard not to turn the camera on.
Yeah. And making content does get in the way of the enjoyment because there's always that part of you that's thinking about how you're going to turn it into a video and what the video is going to be like and so forth.
Yeah, I kind of hate that part. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I try to separate. All right, today I'm recording video, and today I'm just flying, like racing for fun.
Yeah.
Because I already thought about quitting from my channel so many times. It's crazy. I'm like,
Well, you're
It's
not
hard.
a YouTube creator if you haven't thought about quitting.
Yeah.
I've never I've had times when I've thought I mean, I haven't really thought about quitting my channel, but I have had times where I've thought about like maybe pulling back from it a little bit, um, and letting it take up less of my attention. But I always get over it.
So a little bit less spicy question, but still. So, is it like? Do you think there is like any popular opinion in FPV community that you just like strongly disagree? But like most of people think that way, and you think it's like, no, this is bullshit.
A popular opinion. Wow. I mean, I'm sure there must be some. Like I don't have them like ready to go on the top of my head.
Like I
What
would
are
say
like?
already. Yeah, go ahead if you have something.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe it will help you because like I would say like my opinion I strongly disagree is that well like the parallel charging is safe. I don't think it's safe. Parallel
Oh,
charging is not safe. Like that's my
well,
strong belief. And also like the other thing is that I strongly disagree is that people should think a lot about their rates. I think people can just fly defaults and it doesn't freaking
oh, okay,
matter.
okay.
It's just
So I'm gonna.
just something like this maybe.
So I strongly disagree about the rates.
All right.
So, and I say this as somebody who's taught a lot of beginners to fly. You definitely like need lower rates for teaching people to fly, just because they don't have the fine muscle control
Mm-hmm.
on the sticks, and so when they make a correction, they tend to make a big stab on the stick and overcorrect, and turning the rates way down makes it easier for them to
Yeah, like,
learn.
well, this
So
is like for complete beginners, but as long as you can already fly around the tree and do like a split test, then I think that's the moment you
no,
should just stop thinking about it.
I still disagree, because like if you give me like I've flown with Stinger Swarm comes to mind, Kevin Dougherty, and he the way his rate curve is, he has like a sharp expo point, and if I fly his quad or I fly on the simulator and he's got his rates on it, I find it really hard. Like I can freestyle okay, but if I try to race, I keep getting surprised by that expo curve, and it's really hard for me to adjust to
Well,
it.
Neil,
So
I can just read Neil's mind. He thinks that if you spend with his rates like a week of flying, you'll be good. It doesn't freaking matter.
Well, no, not my rates. I just think any rates, right? Like, if you were to pick up Kevin's quad with the weird expo curve,
yeah, you'll get used to it.
That's weird for sure. And I just think where Yvonne is saying is likely, and what I'll just sort of back up maybe is that just whatever your rates may be, it's more important for you to spend time on those rates and fly than it is to be like, oh, I need to tweak this, or if I added a couple if my
you're
curve
right.
went a little that way,
Right.
then I'd be better.
I think there's more granularity in the rate curve than most people need, but like your muscle memory is important.
Yeah.
And if your max rate is like, why do all racers run 400, 500, maybe 600 degrees per second? You don't see racers running 1100 degrees per second.
Right.
Right. So rates
Right.
obviously like matter,
Sure.
but you don't need all the granularity that you get. I
Yeah.
have two sets of rates. I run 533 rates with 0.4 expo on racing and cinematic rigs, and I run my personal rate curve, which is about 900 degrees per second, on all my freestyle rigs, and that's it. And the main reason I do that is because it's what I have muscle memory for. But like if I was trying to do a certain style, like I've had people tell me that my spang flying would look more spangy if I had linear rates instead of expo. Like, oh, I haven't tried that, but maybe. So there's something to it.
But it's
You can't
still, I think it's still at the end is just whatever you get used to. Like, of course, if you get to one race and then you start flying another race, you need some time. But you just shouldn't be thinking a lot about that. You just should grind more on whatever race just you found first.
You find rates that roughly work for you and then stick to them. Don't spend a lot of time. Like it's the same thing with PID tuning. Most people aren't pushing the quad hard enough that the PIDs are what's sort of holding them back. And so you'll see people who can barely fly. They're like, maybe they're just barely learning split S's, and they're like, oh, I need to PID tune this quad. And I'm just like, no, you don't. Just fly the defaults. Shut up. Like, obviously, PID tune them if you want to PID tune them. It's your time. Do what you love. But that's not what's holding you back.